What's good? It's Woog. I just wanted to talk a little bit about Devin Haney versus George Kambosos 2. We just had a great weekend of highly consequential fights, and in Haney versus Kambosos 2, the rematch to defend the undisputed titles that Devin Haney claimed in their first fight in Melbourne, Australia. This rematch also took place in George Kambosos Jr.'s hometown of Melbourne, Australia, and boy, Devin Haney is good, man. Like, he won on the official judges' scorecards. He won one card 10 rounds to 2, and then on the other two official scorecards, won 9 rounds to 3. So this was as dominant, if not more dominant, than their first fight. And like, I knew Devin Haney was a better boxer than George Kambosos. I didn't know he was this much better than George Kambosos, to where, by the third round, it looked like George Kambosos only had not only a puncher's chance, but like a wild puncher's chance, because he was doing things that looked a little unorthodox. He was switching from righty to southpaw, but Devin Haney kind of got the timing and the angles down, even when George Kambosos was switching to southpaw, where Haney's right hand started drilling Kambosos almost at will. And then you would see like my cousin said, that George Kambosos looked like Jim Carrey on Me, Myself, and Irene, where he's like moving his hands like that and like just doing a whole bunch of different things as he's about to get into a fight. And he wasn't too wrong. He wasn't inaccurate in that description. George Kambosos looked like he was trying everything. Like, remember when Zab Judah started getting outboxed by Floyd Mayweather Jr. in the middle of their fight, when, after Zab Judah had some early round success against Floyd, by the middle rounds, Zab Judah's like doing all these different things to try to like throw Floyd off and try to throw punches from weird angles. George Kambosos would like kind of switch here, and then throw like a whipping wild hook, which, I mean, of course you don't want to get hit by it. It looks fast, and George Kambosos does have fast hands, but man, it seemed like he was at the mercy of Devin Haney throughout this fight. And I don't know what kind of turmoil is going on in George Kambosos' career, his corner. I think he fired his trainer and his manager in the weeks, and months leading up to this rematch against Devin Haney. But it just doesn't seem like anything was working for George Kambosos. And I feel like regardless of what's happening in his team and his career, it just seemed like he couldn't do anything about the skills that Devin Haney brought to the table. Again, I knew Devin Haney was good, and no, he doesn't have incredible punching power. Like, there were a few times I thought, damn, is Devin Haney about to stop George Kambosos? Especially like in the 9th and 10th round, he was really just knocking him around, where you would see him hit Kambosos with a hook, and Kambosos' feet kind of change angles, like he's getting knocked off balance, to where he's taking 2 or 3 steps in reaction to getting hit by a clean left hook or a straight right or even a jab if Kambosos was stepping into it. But I had this fight pretty much 10 rounds to 2. Like, you could arguably give George Kambosos maybe the first round, maybe the last round, but in between 2 and 11, you point to the round where Kambosos won. Well, first of all, if you're looking at the punch stats, which isn't the end all be all, and the judges don't have access to those statistics in real time. They're just watching the action in front of them. But Devin Haney was dominating in punch stats round after round after round, throughout the fight. I think in the first round, the punch stats were even, at least in terms of punches landed. But you would have to maybe look at the 12th round for another round that George Kambosos won. Again, I had it 10 rounds to 2, Devin Haney. And by the way, that cut to Haney, was that due to, because it looked like they were clashing heads or faces, or were close to clashing heads a few times. Like, I saw Kambosos suffered a cut over his ear where he was bleeding a lot from, but Kambosos also had a cut eye, a bloody nose. Like, Kambosos got beaten up pretty badly in this fight, and just looked like he was being demoralized from early on in the fight, probably from the 2nd, 3rd round on. Like, he was still very spirited, and he's got a lot of guts, and he was trying to throw punches and throw haymakers and trying to land big shots, which, he did connect with Haney a few times, but for every one connect George Kambosos had, it looked like Devin Haney had 3 more connections. Like, if you look at how lopsided the total punches were, Devin Haney almost tripled George Kambosos' punch landing. And again, he had the reputation, Haney, coming in. A lot of the trash talk was, oh, well, he only has like a really good jab, but no, he was landing right hand leads, like not even setting it up. He would set it up with the angles and with the work that he was doing prior, but he would just rifle him with a lead. Right hand, he was, again, trying to throw a lot more left hooks. I think that was the instruction given by his dad, to look for more opportunities to throw that left hook. The one thing that I think he should have perhaps done more, and I believe Andre Ward was alluding to this, was throwing more body shots to set up more big shots up top. Like, not that there was any shortage of big shots being set up top and landed up top, but it looked like Devin Haney didn't do a ton of work to the body against George Kambosos. I mean, he was having so much success landing up top with the jab in his arsenal of punches, but it just seems like there might have been more of an opportunity for a stoppage if he did do more work to the body. But man, this was a dominant performance for Devin Haney. And now it's up to, Lomachenko to handle business against Jermaine Ortiz, because it looks like they're setting up a title defense for Devin Haney against Vasily Lomachenko. If Lomachenko handles business against Jermaine Ortiz, who is coming off that win against Jamel Herring, and then if Devin Haney is going to stay at 135, because if you looked at Devin Haney during this weigh-in, he looked pretty sunken. Like, he looked like I don't know how much struggle it was to make weight, but he looked nearly skeletal. If you look at even like his eyes, when the face starts looking a little sunken in. Like, I remember Conor McGregor's last couple efforts to make, I believe, 145. That's featherweight in the UFC. But, there are times where you saw like Conor McGregor looking pretty skeletal. Devin Haney, it almost looked a little bit scary. And I think that there were it might have been Boxing Wave who alluded to how drained and bony Devin Haney was looking when he was stepping on the scale. But, Devin Haney said he's going to talk to his team and they're going to look at the options. And he sounds like he's open to fighting once more at 135. Again, to me, this is a legacy-defining opportunity. Now that he's handled business, I mean, and hats off to Haney, by the way. With the contract that he signed up to, it's like this guy who just pulled off the upset against Teofimo Lopez, you've got to fight and beat him twice in his hometown in Australia, which I was always under the impression that it would take more than like a 7-5 looking win for Devin Haney for him to get the love on the scorecards, because you have the crowd noise that might influence judging or even reffing. And it just seemed like Devin Haney was up against it. Like, not only do you have to look like you beat this guy, but you're going to have to look like you're beating him pretty demonstratively, handedly. Like, there can't be any, like, oh, maybe this one could have gone either way. I feel like Devin Haney had to totally outperform Kambosos twice to come out of this contractually obligated back-to-back fights and then come home with all the belts. And Devin Haney did just that in flying colors. So hats off to him, because the pressure was immense in this very young career. Like, I remember just a couple years ago when Haney was fighting like Santiago and was fighting Zayor Abdullayev and then was fighting Gamboa. It seemed like the public was kind of, well, come on already, Haney. Like, let's show it. I'm thinking, like, this guy just got out of fighting, as a 17-year-old in Tijuana, Mexico. He's like 20, 21 at the time that he was fighting like Gamboa. But I'm thinking, like, dude, Devin Haney is right on schedule. Look at how young the kid is. And no, he hasn't beaten the other, he hasn't fought Ryan Garcia, even though he was open to it when he was a WBC title holder. Ryan Garcia was his mandatory. Devin Haney, I believe, like, has seemed to be the one who really does want all the smoke with all of the top fighters. I truly believe that. And, he just needed the right opportunity. And, because Vasily Lomachenko was, in Ukraine during the early stages of the Russian invasion, that just opened the door for an opportunity for Devin Haney to challenge for Kambosos' other three, arguably four, but other three lightweight titles. It just seemed like that is exactly what Devin Haney needed to basically lure other big superstar named fighters to fight him, because it seemed like Devin Haney was kind of the avoided one. Teofimo Lopez didn't seem to express interest in fighting him. Ryan Garcia sure didn't seem to want to fight him. Gervonta Davis doesn't seem super eager to fight any of these big names in the division. And so there was a reason to kind of avoid Haney. He only had the one belt, but it's like now he's got all the belts. And it seems like the people still aren't lining up to fight him, aside from Vasily Lomachenko. Lomachenko, and it's also a promotional thing. It works out with Top Rank right now. It was a lot harder to make these fights with Devin Haney when he was with Matchroom fighting on DAZN, except for the Ryan Garcia. Matchroom and Golden Boy could have worked that out. But yeah, Haney did exactly what he needed to do, and now is he going to move to 140, or is he going to defend again against Vasily Lomachenko if Lomachenko beats Jermaine Ortiz? I'm thinking this is such an important legacy-defining fight. It's almost like, you know, even when Chavez was old and a younger De La Hoya was about to fight Chavez, it's like, yes, Chavez already lost to Frankie Randall and arguably lost, should have lost to like Meldrick Taylor or Pernell Whitaker, but you know, Chavez was already a legend, but he was an old legend. But it was still such a big name that you've got to get that name, to just kind of enhance the overall resume. So yes, Devin Haney has won all of his fights. Yes, he's beaten pretty good fighters in Jojo Diaz and Jorge Linares. And yes, he is now claimed undisputed. The jury's still out on how great or good George Kambosos is or was or any of that. I feel like the opinion on Kambosos has swung mightily in the course of like 2 or 3 fights for him, right? Now everybody's like super bearish and like, oh man, George Kambosos ain't nothing. But Devin Haney has basically passed all of his tests, mostly with flying colors. But a fight and perhaps a win over Lomachenko, which we got to see that fight play out. I tend to think Devin Haney is very big for the division if he can still healthily make the weight. We'll do more analysis and guessing on what might happen with Haney versus Lomachenko in another video. But the opportunity is almost a must-seize type of an opportunity. It's almost like the outsized paycheck was too good to pass up for like Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn when they were trying to sign up for that, that mega fight that since got canceled, right? But I feel like you've got an opportunity to fight Lomachenko. You go ahead and do that because that's the type of name that's going to make your resume increasingly legendary if that is the goal. So yeah, super impressive, dominating performance by Devin Haney to retain his undisputed lightweight champion status. But yeah, let me know what you thought of the fight, what your idea of how the fight was going to look was when you were going into the fight, and what your takeaways are from Devin Haney versus George Kambosos Jr. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you are into the fight talk. I'm Woog. Thanks for tuning in.